Hello, Insta family. It's Dr. T here. Do you know I've actually had people walk into the clinic and go like that? I've just realised that I obviously do that quite a bit when I'm on here. Good to see you. It's Tuesday night. I haven't even taken off my teddy bear jacket yet. It's too cold. I'm very comfortable in it. Makes me feel safe and warm. So I haven't even taken it off since walking in the door. And the beautiful, amazing husband had dinner ready to go for me. So I've just shoveled it in. Kids are in their rooms, not quite asleep yet. But I thought I would jump on here because it's our Tuesday night rapid fire Q&A. Hey, I haven't had anything come through on DM. So given that nobody's slid into my DM, if anyone has any questions that they would like addressed, now is your time. Remember our rules, our guidelines. Please make sure that they're as generic as possible, short and sweet. Don't need your life story. I'm going to try and make the answers short and sweet and something that you can take away. But remember, this is not gospel. So if you do have personal fertility journey or gynecological journey issues, then I would encourage you to go and see your friendly local specialist or come see me. So while I'm waiting for some questions, I want to share with you that just like everyone else out there, I have challenging days. And today was one of those challenging days. For starters, I think I totaled 4 hours sleep last night. Thank you to my 7-year-old for coming in at 2 a.m. and then proceeding to take up the entire bed. So I was already on little sleep. And had a few moments in the day that really challenged me. And it got me thinking about life and this whole concept of no regrets, right? So we do things in life. We get to points in life where I call them like our crossroads or sliding doors moments, where we make decisions about directions that we want to go. And I had a clinical situation with a patient today where they were literally at the crossroads and they had to make a decision. And I had to help them make that decision to go left or to go right. And so I guess the sort of story is the same with me, is that there are times in my life that I have reached a crossroads and I've had to make a decision to go left or go right. And I've really gotten comfortable at the grand old age of 48 of being quite comfortable in having no regrets, because there's been a lot of moments where that old regret stuff starts coming up and you start ruminating, and I kind of figured like the past is done and there's no point having regrets. It's important to learn from the blessing that is the lesson of the outcome, but I think that all decisions that are made are the right decision at the time. And sometimes those decisions do start, the questioning within you. But I always believe that the outcome will come around to teach you a really important lesson at some point in your life. It might not be that lesson. It might be that as a result of that pathway that you took and started heading along that direction, you learned that lesson. And so the blessing is the opportunity that you had to learn that lesson, right? So I think I'm getting comfortable with having a life of not regretting the decisions that I made and being comfortable with the blessings that come my way. And these blessings teach us to be resilient. These blessings teach us to kind of pick ourselves up off the ground, brush ourselves off, and kind of keep moving forward, because like where else are you going to go? Sideways or backwards? Not really. You're going to have to keep moving forward because that's life. Yeah, you have to keep putting one foot in front of the other. That's life. You have to keep taking a breath. That's life. So what these blessings do in our life, and I don't know if you can draw any parallels. I can see some love hearts coming my way, so I must be resonating with someone. But sometimes these blessings that come our way are there to teach us some wisdom that we need to apply in other aspects of our life. And so for me, I know one of those things is resilience. And for a lot of you out there, I know the lessons that you have had to learn, and some of them are quite painful, have probably also taught you a certain amount of wisdom and resilience. So yeah, if there's one just little white shining moment today, that was it for me. And I hope that somebody gets some resonance out of that. Oh, thanks, Eleanor. Great words. Bub and Mum, how to improve implantation chance for a frozen embryo transfer? How to improve? Make sure you've got a good lining. So, oh gosh, that's such an open-ended question. How to improve on 4 hours sleep? I'm struggling a little bit, Bub and Mum. How to improve implantation chance for frozen embryo transfer? Well, I guess there's two aspects to a transfer: is the embryo and the endometrium. And so the very first thing is, if you've got a poor quality embryo, no matter how good your endometrium is, the poor quality embryo is probably not going to communicate right. So you've got to be sure that you're transferring a good quality embryo. And there are different ways that we assess that. The most common way is morphology, how they look under the microscope. And your centre would have a way of grading embryos. So the question is, are you transferring a good quality embryo? Of course, we can go deeper and do chromosomal copy number testing. PGT-A is what we call it. And there are pros and cons to doing that. And I would certainly be discussing that with your fertility specialist. Endometrium is a little bit more like the universe. We're still finding out a lot about it. In fact, we probably know more about the universe than we do about the endometrium. But we know lots of different things affect endometrial receptivity. We know things like endometriosis affect it. We know that microbiome probably plays some sort of role. We know chronic endometritis or sort of subclinical endometritis might affect it as well. We know that anatomical things like polyps and fibroids can impact on the endometrium. We know that certain prothrombotic conditions, so things like antiphospholipid syndrome, can affect endometrial receptivity. So there's lots of different things that can impact on the endometrium. We don't, aside from insulin resistance, glucose intolerance, that whole metabolic syndrome, perhaps thyroid dysfunction, so we're talking about endocrine things, there is not a lot more that we know about lifestyle. Okay, obesity. We know obesity in the inflammatory nature of obesity can affect the endometrium. But there's little else. I'm just racking my brains, my sleep-deprived brains. There's little else that we can implement in our lifestyle to really, really have a significant impact on the endometrium. There's not really any foods that you can eat. Of course, you need to be having folic acid, but that's not really about the endometrium, is it? There's no specific exercise that you can do that we've got proof. We know all these things help your well-being going through an embryo transfer, but we don't really know that they have huge impact. So living a very moderate life, I think, is really important around an embryo transfer. The evidence around acupuncture doesn't support pro-implantation, but if it helps your well-being, then I would absolutely encourage it. There's no herbal preparations that have been conclusively proven. We know sex doesn't negatively impact it, so we don't really need to be telling you not to have sex. So yeah, well, apart from the fact that we just don't want to have multiple pregnancy, but there's very little else. So I don't know. Hopefully you take something away from there to help improve implantation. Life of Brit, good to see. What are the chances of natural conception with low sperm morphology? Wow, morphology is a toughie, I must say, because morphology is not something unless it's like 1%. So to those who don't know, morphology is how the sperm looks under the microscope, and the current cutoffs for a fertile sample is 4% morphology. So a man can have 4% normal looking sperm and 96% abnormal looking sperm, and that's a fertile sperm sample. So we go down to 3%, probably don't think it has any impact. 2%, 1%, maybe, and less than that, probably likely. But it actually really all depends on the motile concentration. So the number of sperm that are actually forwardly motile is probably a far more important measure with regards to conception, and whether that be natural conception or even with IVF, than sperm morphology. Hopefully that's helpful. Is that it? Have I gotten off pretty light today? Is that all you've got for me today, guys? Anything else? Any great words of wisdom from you guys tonight? Anything you've learned today? Anything you've found helpful and resonated with you along your journey? My pleasure. Life of Brit. Nicola Wall. How many transfers are normal before you should hopefully be getting a positive result? Oh, wow. Well, we do start to you're then looking at utilising the term recurrent implantation failure. So there's actually a number of different definitions of recurrent implantation failure, and all the big organisations around the world, no one can really decide or gain consensus on what is the definition of recurrent implantation failure. So it is approximately, Nicola Wall, number 9, it is approximately 3 to 5 good quality embryos without a positive pregnancy test. That's what recurrent implantation failure is. So then the big question is, how do you measure good quality? And then we go back to the question that was asked before around assessing based on morphology or chromosomal copy number of an embryo. But I reckon, it's just my personal opinion, that if you have had transfer and everything else has remained the same and normal, I think that if you have had transfer of 3 or more good quality embryos, you should be looking in a more focused way for what could be causing recurrent implantation failure. I think that's very fair at that point. All right, Emma Allenson, what are you doing on here? You should be looking after your 50 million children. They're not in bed yet, are they? Awesome to have you guys on. My pleasure, Nicola Wall. My pleasure. Anything else, guys, before I wrap it up? Has anyone else got some amazing sort of life lessons that they have learned that they would like to share with me? I know, Emma Allenson, you do. What things did you share at your dinner table tonight? Of course they are. How do you do that? Mine are still struggling. Oh, guys, lovely to have you on. I'm going to wrap it up, I think. On only 4 hours sleep, I think I'm done. I don't have twins to deal with, but I have 2 big girls that I need to spend a little bit of time with before they go to bed. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. It has been an absolute pleasure. Some really good questions there. Remember to look after yourselves. Remember to be kind to each other and be kind to yourselves. And I will see you again next Tuesday. Have a good week. Take care.